Hello everybody. Today we are back with another Borderlands 2 unofficial community patch video continuing the Maya series. And today, you can probably already tell by my weapons that we're going to be doing a catcom build. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into that. So first, we have the Torrent, which is a UCP exclusive weapon. There's plenty of other SMGs you could use that are viable with this build, but I thought it'd be fun to try something that most people probably haven't even seen. I believe this is from the pre-sequel as well, so some of you might be familiar with it, or if you play on the UCP. The Tattler, one of my favorite SMGs on Maya. This thing basically functions like a shotgun, just does a ton of damage up close, good fire rate, high mag size. Bitch is it's super accurate and good from range. It's a nice gun to use, especially if you're good at hitting headshots. And the Nirvana, it's definitely not like the best SMG, but I just figured why not. I don't think I've used it before on any build actually. Maybe I have like once, but I figured I'd give it a shot. I think it generally pales in comparison to other options, but it's okay. Give it a shot. Blockade for survivability, Quasar for mobbing, Firebone because we're mostly using fire, except for the Torrent. That's okay. Legendary Cat to give us some SMG damage. Minus accuracy doesn't really matter. The skills that it buffs is pretty much all damage. This is basically the typical Maya rating comm, unless you're going for maybe something a little bit more niche. Like, I'm pretty sure you can get some insta kills on certain bosses if you use the antagonist and like one of the trickster comms. And if you get kinetic reflection high enough level plus antagonist, there's some weird stuff with that. But yeah, I would say for generally speaking, the cat is probably the best rating comm because it's just the highest damage that you can get pretty much. So that's typically the one I would go with for rating. Um, the spec that I'm going to do, it would probably work for rating, but there's certain skills that you just kind of have to use common sense for if you're rating that you may not need them. Like, I don't know, for example, you may not need wreck in a raid boss fight because you often can't phase lock anything in a raid boss fight. So it's useless. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But generally speaking, this is the go-to DPS comm. I think it's a little bit overkill for mobbing, but some people like that, and I mean it's not like boring by any means, so yeah, it's just a very high damage comm, and it's good. So let's go ahead and get into the skill build. Alright, let's start on the right side. This is going to be pretty standard. We will go ahead and max Foresight. It's nice that we get 10 points here. It's a pretty big DPS buff. Um, to progress the tree, we'll just get Flicker, higher elemental status effect chance. I've said it before, these two skills will come back for Immolate, but they're not exactly the most impressive. Cloud Kill, lots of DPS. Chain Reaction, lots of DPS as well. We get 10 points into Reaper from the cat, which is pretty awesome. That is a huge damage buff, and it's the biggest damage buff that we get from this comm. And then in order to get Ruin, we'll put a few points into Immolate. Okay, that's looking pretty good. 1 point here is plenty. I like Sweet Release more for the survivability, so that's what we're going to do. Um, Going too deep into this when you consider that we are going to have Reaper, Foresight, and Wreck at 10 points and some points into Accelerate, I think this is a little redundant. If you're raiding, you should definitely max this though. General mobbing, it's probably overkill though. We may come back to it, but we'll see. Alright, Wreck, definitely a max. That's a huge damage buff. Res for the extra fight for your lifetime. Elated to progress down the tree a little bit. And we'll go ahead and max it because I want to get like a point or two into life tap. So in order to get there, we'll do Elated and some more points Mind's Eye. And we'll get like a point, and then I'll come back and see how this is looking. Definitely want to max Ward. Great survivability. Put 1 point Accelerate because it actually does synergize pretty well with the build that we have here. So there's not a lot of guns in this build that Accelerate will mess up. There's certain guns that Accelerate really messes up, like the Hail and the Pimpernel, and there's a few others, but none of these guns are adversely affected, so we'll keep it. suspension, more DPS, converge for some crowd control. Let's pump a few into inertia so we can get quicken. And then, yeah, I think we can go ahead and max inertia. I think that's pretty good. Value skill, lots of DPS and survivability. We're not going to get Thought Lock this time around, so we'll do 10 into Mind's Eye. We can also max Accelerate, get some extra damage. Actually, I didn't realize we would have enough for Thought Lock. That's interesting. I don't actually want it for this build though, because the guns we are using are not the most accurate, and I'd rather just have them floating in midair where I can easily shoot them. I forgot it would turn out that way, but that's whatever. Then we have another value point left over, so I'll go Life Tap. We probably don't need the 10 points here or here, really. Like, we could go more into Life Tap, Sustenance. I could probably taken some points out of Accelerate to make sure that we get Scorn instead of Thought Lock, which honestly probably would have been a bit of a better choice, but this is going to be just fine too. So here's the build, and we'll go test it. Alright, we are back with the gameplay. Here is the build. I tried to run through Southpaw, but it bugged out again, and I got stuck on 1E or One, and that keeps happening specifically on this character. If anybody knows a fix for that, I'd love to hear it. I've looked up some stuff, and none of it worked, so yeah, if anyone has any advice for that, it just gets stuck on Southpaw's Demon Power every time on One. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, it's a little bit annoying. But I did switch to the O negative because I was trying to run through Southpaw, and I noticed I was lacking some slag. But yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and run through. Pretty good start. Oh, I thought I had the bit jump. Alright, we'll run through with the Tauren a little bit first. Keep in mind, I don't even have a shock bone on with this thing right now. It's pretty damn good. It's got pretty insane fire rate. I think just about all the other SMGs I'm using will probably out DPS it, but it's still good. Could try the Tattler for this room. Tattler's probably my favorite just because not only is its damage super high, the magazine is crazy high. You can just kind of keep going. As you can see. Getting some good chain reaction there. Nice. Let's see what kind of ricochet we can get. Nice, pretty good. Oh, I'm running into a wall. That would explain a lot. Okay. Let's see. Can't really see his head. Oh, there we go. Oh, he's got a nasty damage every time. There we go. Yeah, I honestly really love the Tattler synergy with Maya's kit. Its one weakness is probably fire rate, and Wreck makes up for that in spades. Alright, the only thing I haven't really used so far is the Nirvana. Let's give that a bit of a shot. Pretty good, actually. Nice. It's basically the Hellfire. I forget the exact differences between the two, but they're very similar. Nice. Alright, we can maybe actually do the Quasar. Try that out a little bit just to show. Ow. Oh my god. Are you serious? Does he have a... Is that a shotgun or is that someone else? I couldn't really tell. Right. Anyway. Okay, maybe this isn't the best. he's still alive. There we go. Yeah, maybe it is better to have the, what's it called? The slag O negative after all. We need the slag and the sustain helps as well. So, we'll go back to that. If I had Scorn, I could easily run the Quasar, but... Oh my gosh, stop moving, please. There we go. Alright, make sure everything's reloaded. I'd say everything's performing pretty admirably. The one that stands out to me the most, I mean, obviously the bitch is really good, but the Tattler is pretty insane as well. It's, Tattler's more generally well-rounded, I guess. I mean, I don't know. The bitch just isn't that great in close range. The Tattler's great in close range, and not bad from other ranges either. Let's see. Can't really see his head. That fire rate is insane. Yeah, see, this would be... I'm glad I did not go Thoughtlock, because it would be a definite issue aiming at some of these guys, which is why I didn't. Oh, got knocked around a little bit. I'm stuck, I think. There we go. I really don't want to use phase lock because Mike, Mad Mike, whatever, is gonna come out in just a second. I want to make sure I have that. What in the hell? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to phase lock him. I'll just stuck. Oh no, someone has a DOT weapon as well. That's fantastic. I'll kill him now. There we go. Oh my. No grenades out of that. Wow. That's a bit surprising. Usually when you use this many grenades, the game primes grenades for you in the ammo. What a weird thing. Just try to converge them together. Oh boy. Yeah, pretty much this right here is why I like Scorn. Because without it, you kind of have to play a little bit slower than I would like. Should this grenade like on top of me. Nice. Hellfire's performing a bit better than I remember, to be honest. I'll try to give the Tauren a decent shot in this last room. I'll throw on a shock bone so we can accurately assess it, but obviously it's not as effective as a fire weapon is here. But okay, I mean, pretty good. It's just very, very ammo hungry. Right, that was one burst. That's what I'm talking about. I think this has proven my point that like going so much into like accelerate and all these damage skills tends to be a bit overkill. Like I would have rather have had survivability this whole time, pretty much. scoring's definitely pretty good, but yeah, not the most accurate and ammo inefficient.
Hold it.
Pretty good if I can like slow down my burst a bit and just aim.
Grenade out.
Like that.
Shut up.
Nice.
Critical.
Alright. Tried to give every weapon a fair shot. I feel like I did. I used each one of them pretty extensively. Torrent performs pretty well, actually. It's probably one of the highest potential DPS, but it requires a little bit of finesse, and it is also ammo hungry. But if you're consistently hitting the head with it in close range, it does a lot. Yeah. One quick little burst will take out most enemies there. Does some serious work, but yeah, that's it. It's a strong build. There's absolutely no questioning that. This is the go-to raid build of mine in most scenarios. Maybe not these exact guns, obviously, but yeah, I mean the cat with the bee and Sandhawk or whatever you're using is pretty deadly for raids, and it's the best way for Maya to compete with other characters in terms of her raiding prowess. So yeah, I mean it's pretty strong. If I were to do it again, I'd probably reallocate some points from Accelerate and Mind's Eye to get like Sustenance, Life Tap, and Scorn. But that's about it. I mean, it was obviously still very strong, but the extra survivability would have helped us more than the extra damage, because at this point, the extra damage we're getting is just overkill. Like, it's not really helping us that much, and I think that's a common misconception in this game that you just need to like pump all of your points into damage, and you just don't. Like, unless you're raiding. I think that's the obvious exception, but for general gameplay, I think it was very obvious that this much investment into damage was overkill, and you'd be better off reallocating some points into survivability skills, which is what I usually do, but I wanted to just kind of show you guys the other side of the coin and the benefits, pros and cons to both. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.